The selection of Jalen, aka Teez Tabor, was really what the British would call the Marmite of this year's draft. You either loved it or hated it. I have seen very few people with an indifferent perspective on the pick. There's everything ranging from people saying he's the next Richard Sherman to the pick ruined the draft, he's going to be a bust because he doesn't have the athleticism. And it was a waste of a pick, especially when we could have had a pass rusher in Tano Passigno or doubled down on another linebacker with Cunningham or McMillan. Hell, we could have got an Obermillan Fonu and had a 6'4 safety developed behind Quinn and Wilson. Now, I don't think he's going to be the next Richard Sherman. The size and smarts that Sherman has are elite, and such things are practically impossible to determine out of college. However, I don't think it's a terrible pick, and I definitely don't think his selection ruined the draft. I know Tabor is a solid football player, and I think he can become a solid number 2 or potentially even a number 1 after Darius Slay either regresses, leaves or retires. I hear a lot of people talking about how he'll compete for the nickel spot, and he honestly has the size for it, but I don't think that would be the best fit for him. I'll explain in a bit. So I wanted to watch some tape so you can see firsthand why the 40 time isn't a big deal, and why I think he's a fairly safe second round pick. I've chosen the game against LSU. Just a word of warning, it's going to be nitpicky. I'll point out what he does right and what he needs to do to improve, even if it's minor. The first play I'd like to point out is this I formation run. Now Tabor doesn't really get in on this play, but he runs into a 6'7", 254 pound tight end. I looked up, and holds his ground relatively well, and more importantly, he holds the edge, stopping the runner from being able to bounce outside. With this play, I just wanted to point out a small thing that becomes apparent. He covers his zone well, but when the ball is checked down, he takes a poor angle. He should be running for the pylon to meet the receiver at the line, and try to stop him. It probably wouldn't have changed the outcome of this play, but this flaw shows up numerous times. This is poor football geometry. Running angles is a fundamental skill for players who play in the linebacker spot. Here's why I see him as that sideline guy. The ability to chase this deep ball and then get his hands in there to knock it out is impressive. Tabor isn't spectacularly smart, nor is he an athletic freak, but his instincts are damn fine. This is just a good play. He makes the read, sees nobody's going to be in his deep zone, sits on top of the receiver and comes down with intent when the ball is thrown, stopping a conversion. Here's another play showing off his strength, holding up against much bigger guys than himself. The block did its job, but he didn't get put on his rear, and he ends up chasing and bringing down the ball carrier. Here's where I make my point about him not being a nickel corner. He sees the gap, he has his eyes on it, but he short steps and he doesn't hit it. Now don't get me wrong, this is Leonard Fournette. Nobody really wants to hit Leonard Fournette, but he does this in the Florida State game against Dalvin Cook, who we'll see twice a year. He does it in the game against Alabama. He doesn't have that linebacker mentality that nickel corner should have. I really think it's the premise of those weird angles he takes, as if he wants to tackle from the side. I wouldn't want to give run stopping responsibilities to a guy who doesn't want to tackle head on. Here's the same again. Doesn't put his head in the tackle, in from the side, and it's not like he doesn't have the strength. He can stand his ground against 250 pound men. Here's a good show of Tabor's awareness. He's manned up, follows his guy, the pass goes underneath, he breaks off and gets around the ball. He doesn't make the tackle, but being there is half the job. Also, not to get too far off topic, but watch 33, the player that initiates contact. That's an example of good football geometry. I know he's a linebacker and he's manned up on the back, but he follows and adjusts his angle to get to the player square on whilst giving up as little yards as possible. Now in this play, Tabor gets beat, but it's a great passing catch. For those concerned with speed, Malachi Dupree is an NFL receiver now, with a 4.52 40, and he stays toe to toe with him. So don't tell me Teez's combine or pro day times represent his actual speed. And technically, in the NFL, that isn't a catch. He seemed to have a lapse of attention, and got a bit ahead of himself, and really should have been faster to put hands on Dupree when Dupree reached for the ball. Here's a play that highlights his awareness. The holder fumbles and has to throw the ball. Tabor isn't caught off guard and is there to contest the ball. It's just another example of awareness, and it's those intangible skills that don't show up on a stat sheet or a physical report that translate really well into the pro level. In this play, Tabor holds his zone, but has fast enough reactions to break out and make a tackle right away, even as the wide receiver leaves Tabor's zone. The technique in the tackle is also good, ripping at the arms and trying to cause an incompletion, whilst also dragging the player down. This is the final example of him being uneager to get his hands dirty, and not really putting his head down. He slides and shimmies to the running back, with no real intent to making a tackle. He could have had closed that distance, but chose not to. Manned up against a sweep play, it's another example of a poor angle. He should be racing for the 10 rather than the 8, which means he misses the tackle. I know it seems small, but it's just so key to having clean defense and succinct defense. Right? If you want to be shut down, then you can't give up 3 yards like that. And this is the final play that I'm going to go over, and this is just showing off that he's not slow. Right? He can catch up to people. He can keep up with people. So to surmise, I think Tabor can become a solid second cornerback, and also has the potential to play nickel if he can get over what I think is a mental obstacle and tackle fast-moving players head-on. He looks comfortable on the field and very rarely gets lost. His football instincts are sharp, and although cornerback wasn't a massive need, having quality depth at the position is never really a bad thing, as you at least have 2 cornerbacks on the field at all times. Okay,